What if you could flip a switch and know that every single drop of electricity made it to its destination? Nothing lost, no waste, no heat, just pure, perfect efficiency. What would a world like that even look like? Well, for a few wild weeks in the summer of 2023, it really felt like we were about to find out. The internet just exploded, from top-tier labs to social media, all buzzing about this one material, LK99. It was a discovery that promised to change literally everything. And that frenzy, that's exactly what we're going to dive into here. We're going to break down the science, the incredible claims, and the reality behind the superconductor superhype. So first things first, let's get a handle on why this news caused such an earthquake. The claim wasn't just about some new lab curiosity. It was about finally finding a holy grail technology, something scientists have been chasing for more than a century. And look, this isn't science fiction. With a room temperature superconductor, we could build a global power grid with zero energy loss. Think about it. Solar farms in the Sahara could power New York City at night. That whole problem with wind and solar being intermittent? Gone. We'd have crazy efficient MRI machines, levitating trains could become as common as cars, and we'd usher in an era of truly cheap, clean energy for the whole planet. Okay, so to really understand the whole LK99 controversy, we first have to get the ground rules straight. What exactly is a superconductor anyway? Well, the name kind of gives it away, right? Superconductivity is this incredible, almost magical property where certain materials can conduct electricity with absolutely zero resistance. It's like a freeway for electrons with no traffic, no friction. They just glide through without losing any energy as heat. And when I say zero, I mean literally zero. To give you an idea of how perfect this is, check this out. In Belgium, there's a gravity sensor with a superconducting loop, and a current has been flowing in it uninterrupted for over 28 years. No battery, no power source. It just keeps going. So how on earth is that possible? Well, the secret sauce is something called a Cooper pair. At super cold temperatures, as one electron moves through the material, its negative charge kind of pulls the positive ions in the material toward it. This creates a temporary little pocket of positive charge that then attracts a second electron. All of a sudden, these two electrons, which should be repelling each other, are linked up, and they can cruise through the material as a team. But zero resistance is only half the story. The other critical make-or-break test is called the Meissner effect. And yeah, this is the cool part you've seen in all those amazing videos. When a material becomes a true superconductor, it actively pushes out all magnetic fields from inside itself. It just kicks them out, which is what causes it to levitate perfectly over a magnet. So that's the theory. It sounds amazing, but in the real world, there's a huge catch, and that catch has always been temperature. For decades, we had to use liquid helium to get things cold enough. We're talking near absolute zero. And that is incredibly expensive stuff. But then a huge breakthrough happened in 1986 with so-called high-temperature superconductors. Now, high temperature is a bit of a funny term here. We're still talking minus 180 Celsius. But the crucial part is that's warm enough to be cooled by liquid nitrogen, which costs as little as 15 cents a liter. This was a game changer that made the tech way more practical. And this isn't just sitting in a lab somewhere. Just south of Seoul in South Korea, they've actually installed the world's first commercial high-temperature superconducting cable. It runs for a whole kilometer, connecting two power substations. So that brings up a pretty obvious question. I mean, you look at this chart, why would anyone do that? A traditional cable costs maybe $10 a meter. The superconducting one, hundreds. On paper, it makes absolutely no economic sense. Well, it turns out the problem they were solving wasn't about cost. It was about space. The substations were getting overloaded, but they had literally no physical room to add the giant transformers needed for another conventional cable. A superconducting cable, though, it could carry way more power at a lower voltage, which meant they didn't need a new transformer. It was a very specific, clever solution for a very specific problem. Okay, so now we've got our toolkit. We know the two big tests, zero resistance and the Meissner effect. So let's circle back to LK99 and properly investigate those incredible claims. This is the key question, right? When those videos of that little gray flake of LK99 levitating went viral, everyone got excited. But here's the thing. Levitation by itself isn't proof. There's another, much more common property called diamagnetism that can also make things get repelled by a magnet. So how do you tell the difference? It all comes down to two non-negotiable pass-fail tests. First, does its electrical resistance drop sharply and completely to absolute zero? Not just kind of low, but all the way to nothing. And second, does it show the full Meissner effect? Does it become a perfect diamagnet, kicking out every last bit of magnetic field? So labs all over the globe started trying to cook up their own LK99, and the results started pouring in. The original claim was a sharp drop to zero resistance, but the 11 labs that managed to publish results, well, they all saw the resistance drop, but it never actually hit zero. As for the magnetism, yeah, the material did levitate a little bit, but it was just showing some weak diamagnetism, not that powerful, perfect expulsion that the Meissner effect requires. The final nail in the coffin really came from a team in Germany. They succeeded in creating a perfect, pure crystal of LK99 without any impurities, and what they found was definitive. The pure material wasn't a superconductor at all. It was an insulator, the literal opposite, that just happened to have some minor magnetic properties. So, was this whole thing just a massive waste of time? Absolutely not. The story of LK99 isn't a story of failure. It's a perfect example of the scientific process working exactly like it's supposed to. Someone makes a bold claim, and the entire global community jumps in, transparently, to try and verify it. And honestly, you can't really fault the original team for their excitement. I mean, can you imagine? When the prize is a discovery that would change the world and write your name in the history books forever, well, that kind of enthusiasm is pretty understandable. So I think the biggest takeaway from the whole LK99 superhype isn't really about the material itself. It's about the reaction. For a few weeks, the entire world was suddenly captivated by condensed matter physics. It proved, without a single doubt, just how hungry we all are for this technology to finally become a reality. The case of LK99 might be closed, but that global quest is more energized now than ever before, and it leaves us with this final, really tantalizing question. We know what we're looking for, but where is that real breakthrough going to come from? And what will it even look like when it finally gets here?